Hey there. So I wanted to follow up on my little thing yesterday about planting herbs on my garden or herbs on my patio and deck and in pots because I had some questions pop up and everybody seemed to really like it. So I wanted to show you what I did last night because I did some more planting. I kind of moved some stuff around and I want to show you what I've got. So I've got a few things repotted, right? So I ended up going with flowers for the hanging thing because I love color. And anybody who's been to the Fearless Fresh website just knows that I love color. And I have a lot of herbs, but herbs are all green. And I really wanted to mix it up with a little bit of color. Petunias are not edible, as far as I know. So I wouldn't eat them, but they do make things look pretty. So I went ahead and repotted my sage in this little short pot. It was in a taller pot yesterday, and I put it in a short pot because this is something, sage, if it's not in the ground, it tends to get kind of leggy and overgrown. It doesn't look very nice, and so I tend to replant it every year. And because I know it's gonna not be in that pot for a really long time, like it's not gonna need to really establish a really deep root system, so I've just put it in a shorter pot that I think is gonna be more appropriate for the short term. And plus I really like how it looks because it's a taller bushy plant and it looks good, kind of like it makes the whole pot look kind of round-ish, right? Ooh, I've got a bee buzzing my head. Get out of here, bee. Here I've hung some more herbs. I've got catnip on the bottom, and then I've got lemon balm, and I forgot another kind of mint on top. I don't remember exactly what kind of mint it is. I planted so many things yesterday that I forgot. So I've got these guys in hanging pots, and you'll notice these are metal pots. And those are great as long as they don't get direct sunlight. Because as I mentioned yesterday, like plants don't like their root system heated up. And if they're in pots, the root system isn't insulated like it is if they're in the ground. If they're in the ground, like the roots are insulated by all of the ground around it and like whatever top cover you've got. When they're in pots, if the sun shines on the pot, this will heat up the root system and potentially kill your plant pretty quickly. In metal pots, that's like 50 times worse. Terracotta pots tend to do the same thing because they really hold heat, right? Because they're basically like pizza stones, right? Pots made out of pizza stones. So if you hang or you have metal pots or terracotta pots in direct sunlight, the roots of your herbs can overheat and it'll kill your herbs. So if you're planting in pots that are going to be in direct sunlight, then I would recommend using plastic like these guys here, right? This is rosemary. Rosemary really, really dislikes having its root system heated up. In fact, you'll notice there's like a blank space right here in the plant where the root system heated up and that part of it died and I had to cut it out. And I moved it to a plastic pot, and it's much happier now. And then I've got these little herbs, actually, which I showed you guys yesterday, but I'll show you again because I really like them. So I've got marjoram and oregano and regular thyme here, and they all look very happy. And in the middle, I've got this really cute pot of tarragon growing because I think it kind of creates like a fountain kind of look to it. Got some succulents here and some bushy fuchsias just because I think they're really pretty. They're really bee and butterfly and hummingbird friendly, which is I try to plant to support local pollinators and all that fun stuff. And then I've replanted my chives. So these guys, I don't know if you saw yesterday, they were looking a little haggard because they were from last year and I had given them a haircut. These are brand new chives. They're looking a little lazy because they need to kind of establish themselves in the pot. The reason I have these in a hanging pot as opposed to in the ground, because chives do really well in the ground. Like they'll grow year after year after year from the same plant and look really beautiful and get really big. But these guys are up here because one of my cats is an idiot and he escapes and he gets outside and the first thing he goes to is he eats the chives, and anything that's onion related in the allium family is highly toxic to cats and dogs. And so the first day, we got him back in the house, we thought he had thrown up some grass and we're like, this grass smells like onions. It turned out he'd been eating the chives. So we have to hang our chives because my cat's an idiot. I've got a fuchsia in the pot that the sage was in yesterday because I think that looks a little better, just like the sage in the new pot, which is sort of short and round. Like this one's like a taller plant and put it in a taller pot to kind of mirror the size and shape of the pot. And then same as yesterday, here's my chives in my strawberry pot and my violas, and over here I've got one more plant up here. I was going to put herbs in this plant, which you can totally, or in this pot, which you can totally do, but again, I got a lot of green and I really wanted to go for more color, right? And so that's why I've got, these are called million bells, and they actually don't mind the summer heat so much. They don't like to be in direct sunlight, but because they're hanging kind of underneath the overhang and with the protection of the umbrella here, like they'll actually do really well in this spot. So anyways, that's just a quick overview of my garden. If anybody's curious, I've got like a little succulent garden or a succulent shelf going on over here. It's kind of in a little bit of disarray because whenever the sun moves around my house, I have to move the succulents around because some really, really, really don't like direct sunlight. And within like a day of getting hit by direct sunlight, they will all die. And so I really quickly had to kind of push them all to one side when I realized the sun had hit that corner of the house or that corner of the yard to keep them all from frying. These are more just decorative flowers. You can see like my succulents are starting to flower. I love these. They're pink and yellow, and I think they're so pretty. I love those little echeverias. And that's it. So let me turn this around. Ooh, glaring sunlight. Where's some shade? There we go. So that's it. If you have any questions about growing herbs in your garden, this is something I'm actually really passionate about, growing my own food. And I've got lots of tips for growing food in a really small space because that's what I've got here. I've got a little bit bigger space than I used to have, but historically I've always lived in apartments. But here I've got a couple raised beds. And if you want, I can actually show you those raised beds tomorrow and show you how you can do them for cheap if you've got a little bit of space in your yard or even just your patio. You can plant raised beds on a patio as well if you've just got a little bit of space and grow your own food, which is super exciting. So if you have any questions, drop them below in the comments and I will answer them tomorrow. Have a good one, ninjas. Bye-bye.